starting.
And
Action.
action.
Nice.
Hello, everyone. We're back. Dun, 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 dun.
Oh my gosh.
Breaking news. No, I'm just kidding.
Uh-oh. Grace is hyper today.
Yeah, I am.
Okay. Well, perfect because
it's snowing
we got a lot to talk about. Let's talk about Westview, New Jersey, baby. Let's go.
New Jersey. They were like New Jersey. I was like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
that's where I live.
Okay, Miss Grace, hit us with the episode 4 recap.
Okay, so we're back. We are going to do a little recap of episode 4 of WandaVision, and boy oh boy, is this one a little doozy. Takes us for a ride, answers.
You did not just say that. Oh my god.
Sorry, I feel like Jimmy Woo coming back, like the quirkiness that he brings, I was just like, yes!
Oh Lord.
When he's like, I don't have diddly squat, I was like, I missed you.
Yeah,
man.
he's great.
He's back. Okay, episode 4. So, recap of this episode. We start with Monica waking up from the blip. She wakes up in the hospital, which she believes to be a 20-minute nap. She wakes up and she's alone in a hospital room. Her mom is gone. The last she remembers is that her mom had just come out of a successful surgery. So she leaves the room to find out where her mom is. As she leaves the room, you see the hospital erupt into like utter chaos. There's just a bunch of people because now everybody's waking up from the blip. While she's running around trying to see where her mom is, she bumps into her mom's doctor, and the doctor explains what happens, that her mom has died from cancer while she was gone for those 5 years. Jump to 3 weeks later, she comes back to Sword. Now there is a Agent Hayward who is running the whole operation that is Sword. We find out that Sword was founded by Maria, and Maria left all leadership roles to Hayward. And while Monica is there, she's eager to jump into the job, and Hayward explains to her that she has been grounded and she can no longer go to do extraterrestrial.
Literally grounded.
Yeah, to do extraterrestrial jobs, and she is sent to Westview, New Jersey, or she's sent to New Jersey to figure out a missing persons case. That is when we are introduced or reintroduced to Jimmy Woo. I'm very excited. Very much love his character. We are introduced to him. He does the cute little card trick that Scott Lang teaches him in Ant-Man and Wasp.
Ant-Man.
That was really fun. Explains to her what's going on there, how there was a buddy of his who was in witness protection, and how his buddy in witness protection went missing when he was put on this case, and after he went missing, everyone that he was related to kind of didn't. It was almost like he never existed, almost like in Harry Potter when Hermione obliviates her parents. Nobody has recollection of this so-called witness protection agent. There are 2 cops there that are from Eastview, New Jersey, and when Jimmy Woo asks them about Westview, they say it doesn't exist, there's no such thing. Then Monica goes to the back of her car or her van, takes out a helicopter, a drone that we see in episode 2, I believe. In episode 2, it's the same helicopter. Yeah. She sends the drone. At the same time, she's talking to Jimmy Woo, and she's like, "Why haven't you gone into the town yet?" And he's like, "It won't let me. Like, it's not letting me go inside." While she's talking to him, the drone disappears. The screen that that you could see what the drone is seeing, like, starts glitching out, and she's like, "Where did it go?" And Jimmy Woo turns to Monica and is like, "You feel it too, right? Like, you feel that it doesn't want us in there." Monica walks up to the force field. She puts her hand in, and it's almost like this TV static.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Woo's like, "Be careful," and then she gets sucked into the world, and that's when things start moving. Then we cut to a scene with Miss Kat Dennings as Darcy, and she's in the back of an army van with the rest of these brainiacs. She comes onto the built-in pop-up Sword base that they've built around Westview, New Jersey, and she asks one of the guards or one of the agents, one of the detectives, I don't know, they really never established this man's role. She's like, "What do you know so far?" He's like, "Everything's classified." And very sarcastically, she's like, "So you know absolutely nothing." While she's there, she takes out this device and she sees these CMBR waves. I believe that's what they're called, CMBR waves, that date to the Big Bang, which is also when the stones were created. She sees these huge CMBR waves, and she explains to him what they are, what that is. And then above the CMBR waves, there are other static waves. Mm-hmm. And so she takes out this
other wavelengths,
almost like this TV, but it's not really a TV. It's like a weird, like, old equipment.
She made it. We assume that she made it when they were doing their work with Thor. So
yeah, and you see this almost like this picture of like Wanda, but it's like very staticky. And then she asks him for an old vintage camera. Cut to
TV, for an old vintage TV.
TV, not camera.
Yeah, good.
Cut to Agent Hayward and Agent Jimmy Woo talking about sending this other agent into the town through the sewers, which is actually the beekeeper that we see in episode 2 or episode 2.
Right, because everything that goes into the world is morphed into something that fits that specific reality.
Yeah, so Jimmy is basically telling Agent Hayward, I don't think this is a good idea because every agent that we have sent in there so far hasn't come out yet. And while they're discussing this whole mission, you hear laughter and like applause, like audience applause, and
like a live audience. Yeah.
And it is Darcy watching the sitcom, watching episode 1, and they go to her and they're like, what is this? Like, what is this? Like some sort of joke? Like, do you think somebody's playing it? She's like, it's a sitcom. And they start asking her all these questions. She's like, it's a sitcom. Like, I know as much as you guys do. And then they start piecing together different parts. They start identifying different characters in the show.
Right.
They identify everyone except Dottie and Agnes, but Dottie isn't even on the board that they have of people identifying. Agnes is the only one that doesn't have a driver's license. Everyone else has a New Jersey's driver license. I'm gonna
that's when we are confirmed.
Reference to the driver's license. But anyway,
and that, good lord, and that confirms that everybody in the reality that Wanda's created are civilians that she has either her or some other power controlling her has taken over and making it just sort of force these people to be in her specific reality.
And then as Darcy is watching, she sees Monica Rambeau, who we know in the show as Geraldine, and they immediately start questioning, like, is she okay? She seems okay. Like, what is she doing there? Like, do you think she knows what she's doing? Like, she's conscious of everything that's happening, yada, yada, yada. So they keep watching to see what happens. And then Darcy's like, I want to try interfering with the radio frequencies, because in almost every episode there's one scene where she's like by a radio. Right. This is the first time that we notice that what Darcy is seeing isn't the same way that we as the audience are seeing
different.
Because the glitch happens at a different time.
It's also way more censored.
Yeah, it's way more censored. So when Agent Woo goes and does the Wanda, can you hear me? Like, Wanda, who's doing this to you, Wanda? In episode 2, it kind of glitches for Darcy, almost as if like that never happened.
Right. Whereas we see that dialogue between her and Dottie, and we see Dottie get cut, and we see that blood, and then we see Dottie just magically go back into character. Kat Dennings and all the team, they don't see any of that.
Yeah. The next big thing that happens in that episode is Monica referencing Ultron, and Woo makes a comment. She's like, is this the first time that she has referenced our reality? Darcy's like, yes. Then from there, it glitches, and it just goes to the end credits of that WandaVision episode. And from there, the sirens go off, and they're like, there's been a breach. And so then Monica, she's like, it's Wanda. It's all Wanda. And then everybody lost their mind. Everybody who was watching the show went, what? Collectively, we as an entire fan base lost our cool. I'm pretty sure that's everything in there.
Yeah, that's so in retrospect, not a lot of action happened, but we are given a lot of information. So I was kind of bummed because I was like, man, we're still in the same decade. I personally, as a fan, I felt a little cheated, and I'm just an impatient person. So I was like, let's go. But it was really helpful getting that background information. And Marvel revealed to us a lot more than they think they did.
So the first thing I want to address is the whiteboard, and then the board with everybody's driver's license and and
Yeah.
identification. Those two boards have so much information on them.
Right. A
I
lot
keep
more
going
than you
back and
think.
pausing and stopping. So first I want to address the board with all the identification. I feel like that really solidifies and confirms the fact that there is something very off about Agnes. That she
Right.
also, in one of the promo videos, she says to Vision, "Am I dead?"
Yeah.
And Vision is like, "No, what do you mean?" And she's like, "Well, you're dead."
Right. We been knew
So
something's
we
off
know
with
we knew there was
Agnes.
something weird
Also, I would just like to point out Agnes, Agatha Harkness.
Oh, 100%.
Uh,
And I'm pretty sure in the next episode, she like takes care of them in the next episode. And in the comics, Agatha the witch also
right.
babysits one of
Right.
the
They're kids.
children while they're out and about doing their thing.
Hmm.
So that was the first thing that I was like, yep.
Yeah. That board.
If
That board
anyone in
confirmed.
this
Yeah.
world is way fishier than Wanda, it is Agnes.
Right.
And
But
then
we've been new. We've been new.
yeah, we've been new. And then the other one was a whiteboard that you see Jimmy Woo write on every time there's like a new development.
Yeah, every time there's a new clue. My girl, when I tell you, I was like pausing it every second to see specifically what they wrote down. Yeah.
Okay, so there was maybe like 4 or 5 things that stick out to me. It was why a hexagon, why sitcoms, same time and place, question mark, is Vision alive, question mark.
Yeah.
And then on there was like a little, it was like almost cut by the frame, it was like who could be behind this, and in parentheses it said scrolls. People, I know a lot of people were like, oh, like what if the scrolls are like in the town and they're disguised as people? I don't think that's true, just because the scrolls we know aren't bad guys.
Right. And I don't know why they would have any motive to do that. And we got confirmation that they are all civilians of Earth.
Yeah, I also feel like that just might be Jimmy Woo just like putting down all
Just
possible
spitballing.
like,
Right.
things that could be happening.
Right.
The hexagon one was very interesting. There's a theory that all the hexagons that show up in the show, and the fact that the town is shaped like a hexagon, is almost a message that Wanda is trying to communicate to the outside world, whether she's doing it intentionally or unintentionally. The two possible interpretations of why we keep seeing hexagons is she's trying to communicate to everyone that she is hexing people in the town, that she's using her powers to hex people, or she herself is being hexed by somebody else, possibly Agnes, aka who we think is Agatha, which I thought was very interesting. The other question was why sitcoms, same time and place, question mark, is Vision alive? Why sitcoms? I haven't really seen anything about that one. Same thing for like same time and place. I haven't seen.
Right. But it is showed to us that they become whatever they watch. So at the very end, Wanda's like, "What should we watch tonight?" And then I was like, "Oh, okay. So they are quite literally becoming what they watch." And in that freeze frame too, we'll get to this. Vision looks directly at the camera.
Talking about
Vision
like,
looks directly at the
wall.
camera.
The first time he does it, it reminds me of The Office, because he's like,
yeah, because he literally does a little gym, like
a little gym moment. I was
it's
like,
so funny.
Is Vision alive? That is the question, man.
That is the question. I have some thoughts on that. But before we get to that, so going back to the board of everybody's kind of profile, character breakdown of who they are in real life versus who they play. So, and that part was so cool when they were like, "Oh, Norm played by da da da, Dottie played by da da." I was like, "Oh, this is cool." Mr. and Mrs. Hart played by I was like, "Oh, okay." I noticed something. My crazy self went back to the scene, paused it, zoomed in as much as humanly possible, and I was reading all the character breakdowns, as one does if you're obsessed with the show and run a podcast about it. And Vision's coworker, who is Norm, played by Abilash. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm sorry. On every character breakdown, there are notes that they have written against, like, for everybody. And on his character breakdown, it says, Abilash, parentheses, Norm's real name, expresses concern for his father and sister. This information was obtained when Vision awakened him. Is Wanda controlling the whole town? Question mark. Physical safety of residents is now in question. When Vision releases him, Abilash becomes Norm again. So that was all written on his character breakdown on that freeze frame of the
I
character
wonder if
of
we're gonna see that.
yeah, so
Like,
I
how have
don't
they
know.
seen that and
So
we haven't seen that yet? That's the other
yeah,
thing. I
we
like
have
that
not
we know
seen
what they've seen and that we
that we
haven't seen,
haven't,
but
right.
we've seen that they haven't seen.
So that shows that Vision has the power to wake people up. And Vision also
Yeah, and you
himself
see that
wakes
in the
people.
promo
Yeah,
because
you
then
see that in
Agnes
everything
is
because
like at the car and then he touches
he
her and he's
touches her
like,
and she's
"Stuck in
awakened,
my
right?
bed." Yeah,
And so I was thinking a lot about who these people are as characters, and Vision, it says that Abulash expresses concern for the outside world. So he is now very aware. Vision is aware that these are civilians. These are people that Wanda or some other
yeah.
power, Mephisto, has taken over. So I
Feels
think
like it's a moment of
eventually,
like,
Vision, I think it's gonna end up honestly with Vision against Wanda at some part because
yeah.
listen, Vision will do whatever it takes to protect the civilians. He is Jarvis, like he has that wired into him. We've seen that since the very
That's
first
literally
time he
what he
was
was
born.
created for.
Right. So, but he also loves Wanda. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But if he has been going around waking everybody up, hearing their actual stories, he's figured it out by now. And I think that if it comes
Yeah.
down to it, if the physical safety of the residents is now in question, I think Vision will do whatever he can to protect these people,
Well,
even if
that's
that
yeah,
means
that's his
going
whole
against Wanda.
purpose. Because in
Right.
Ultron,
There's
when he's
also
created, and they're like, they ask him like, "What side are you on?" He says, "I'm on the side
on
of
the side
life."
of right,
Right, on the
right.
side of life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
like at the end of the day, I don't want to say that no matter how much he loves Wanda, but I feel like no matter
He's
how
gonna
much
do what he's
he has
programmed to
feelings,
do.
yeah, he's gonna do what he has set out to do.
There was also a clip that I saw somewhere where it's a split second in some of these promo videos, where Wanda and Vision are both flying up and it looks like they're getting ready to fight, but they're facing each other. And I was like, oh, here we go. Have
Yeah,
you seen that? Have you seen that split
I
second clip where
so
they both, it's like in the
I know what
living
you're talking
room
about, but I don't think I
and they both go
realized that
up?
they were facing each other.
Right. Also,
Um,
there's more I want to say on that regarding the leaked footage that a lot of you may know happened, but I will not
I
be
thought for
saying
like 10
anything about
seconds,
that.
and then I was like, no,
I will not be saying
no.
anything of that. Just know I have thoughts. And next week, when we do see that
When
footage,
we
I
will
will be
see it.
discussing it and
That's so
connecting it
funny.
with this very specific point about Vision that I am making.
I feel like that's probably what we're gonna see more of in the next episode if they've already seen him wake up these other characters that
Right.
we haven't seen as
Well, we've also seen Vision
viewers of.
outside the bubble. Like in the promos
Oh
a
yeah,
long
and
time ago in the
when he's
first
like
one,
coming out,
he is
I'm scared of him
outside.
to come out because
So if
that
he's
may confirm other things.
I
That's
know
like
it,
another.
but
That was
also
something we didn't get to.
if he is outside of the bubble, there's a very real possibility he could then be working with Sword to go against Wanda to protect the people. That's what I
Yeah.
think might happen. I
Um,
think that's a
but
very
I
real
feel like that won't
possibility.
happen without Wanda knowing. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
but then also
Like
I
there
don't
has to
know.
be
Also,
some
I don't
sort
know
of like
because
sixth sense that when people leave or come into the
she
town
feels
that
it.
she like
But
feels
no,
it.
she didn't feel it when Monica came in or the beekeeper. She
Oh
just felt the aftershocks of that. She
yeah.
just dealt with that. She didn't actually like we didn't see a whole realization. She had to figure that out. Like she knows eventually, but because they expose themselves. You know what I mean? That one
There's like
scene.
this there's one scene in at the end of after she kicks out Monica where she
Right. So she's been temporarily awakened
yeah, and Vision comes into the house and
and
it's like it's Vision's corpse from the end of
from
Infinity War.
Endgame. Oh
And
yeah, Infinity War,
there's
excuse
like
me.
cuz if it's the theory that she woke up, then that means that she's just been like controlling
His
Vision's
corpse?
body
His
around the
corpse?
town and I don't want to
No, but
think
that's
about
such
it.
a real trend going around right
I
now
don't want
that
to.
well, and also Grace, listen to this. I
But it
watched an
also could be
interview.
she just like had a little flashback moment where she like was
Right. But
like
I don't know because it was right after
but
she
then
woke up with Monica.
when he like goes in the promo when he like tries to leave the bubble, it doesn't look like
That's what
he's a
I'm saying.
corpse. He
Okay,
looks like
that's
he's
no, that's
still
the point I was making. So when we see Monica go out of the little world, she is still in her clothes. Her clothes are very tangible, very real. Her makeup, everything's very from the 70s. So the effects on that reality did not wear off as she entered our reality. So I am questioning if Vision
yeah.
is alive in this reality. Who's to say that won't wear off in ours?
Yeah, it could be that or she could have assimilated to the world to like do her like be her agent.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, she changed her appearance to fit into
Right. But I
this
don't
made up
but
world.
she wasn't really in
Because
control
even
during that. She
when she
wasn't in
comes out of the world, like, she's still aware of who she is and what's happening. She's like, and that's why she says it's all Wanda. It doesn't come
That's
out of her
true,
face
but we
like
don't
she
we
didn't
don't see
see
her
it.
act on it. Like I
Yeah.
don't think I would argue there's not enough control on Geraldine's character in order to clue me into the fact that Monica was really working on the inside the whole time. I think she was really
Yeah.
confused and disoriented. I think that part of her was very much, I think she was listening and learning and reacting in her Monica brain, but she had to really be this character. She had to become Geraldine.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I would go so far to say as like she changed how she looked to be like in, you know what I mean? I don't think
Yeah.
she had a choice. We are very conflicted on if Vision is dead or alive. I could make
I
very
hope
two
he's
points about that.
There's the reason why everyone's supporting that he's using that Wanda might be using his corpse is because there's a in an interview he talks about when Kevin Feige reached out to him at the end of Infinity War and was like, "Hey, we might be doing this possible tag scene at the end of I think Endgame where Wanda goes into like the morgue in Wakanda and like starts playing with like Vision's body." And then
Mm.
they scrapped it. There's even like somewhere there's even like concept art for the scene and everyone's like, remember when he said this in this interview? Like, what if she
Well, the
really is
interview that got
his
me was
body?
it came out recently, like 2 weeks ago, I want to say. I want to say it was like an Allure interview or something, but they asked him, so what happened with Vision's body in Infinity War? And like we just kind of see it, we just kind of leave it. And Paul Bettany smiles and he goes, well, I know what happened to his body. And then and he was like, and I'm gonna leave it like that. I'm gonna leave it as is. But he has a
Yeah.
very like coy grin on him. I was like, oh, he knows
Yeah,
something.
there's like an interview, like a recent interview where like he talks about Kevin Feige. He finished Infinity War and he was like, "Well, Vision died. That's it for me." And Kevin Feige reached out to him and was like, "We want to do this end credit scene, possible tag scene, for Vision and Wanda to hint at a WandaVision, and it would basically just be like Wanda like playing with Vision's dead body and like trying to like revive him." And I was like, if that is true, which it is because it was gonna be a thing, and then Kevin Feige was like, "Never mind, we're scrapping that. Like, don't even like it's not happening
I
anymore."
could make the argument that Vision is actually alive or that it is
Yeah, because
this
even
very
in
real corpse
Infinity
theory.
War, I feel like I hope that she's not just dragging his body around. Because I'm like, baby girl, you could have easily broken into the Avengers headquarters. I'm sure there's a program somewhere in some computer that
Right.
there's Vision programming because he's
I think
literally a
somehow,
robot.
somewhat, like Vision
Like
cannot be dead, dead. I don't
maybe
know.
in Infinity War when they're like, "Oh, we need to destroy the Mind Stone," and then Wanda's like, "No, I'm not going to do that. Like, I'd be killing you." After
Right.
Wanda leaves, and like Vision and everybody else is trying to figure out a plan,
Right.
it's like, well, you really wouldn't be dead because you're a robot. Like you start
In Wanda's
thinking
mind,
and Jarvis
Vision
and
Vision died for nothing because the
yeah,
Mind Stone still exists.
yeah, because she came in Endgame and she was ready to
The
kill that
Mind
man.
Stone got placed back into their same timeline. Like,
Yeah, which is also why I'm like he can come back because
no, right. That's what
if
I'm
the Mind
saying.
Stone is all in the correct timeline, then he would be able to
That's
come back. But then
exactly
it
what
would
I
also
said
mess with
earlier.
our
Yeah.
reality too
I don't know. I
if he's
think there's a
back.
very, very real possibility for either of them. Or I think he is alive, but Marvel just wants to throw us off the track with that
Yeah,
corpse thing. So I don't know.
he can also
Or
be alive
she
without the Mind Stone too. Like he doesn't
right, or she did get
necessarily.
his corpse and he and like somehow made him alive. I don't know. We're talking about the most powerful Avenger. We haven't really seen
Yeah,
all of her power yet. There's still so much we don't know about Wanda's power. So I don't know. We could it could definitely be either or.
Miss Wanda, please don't be carrying around your lover's corpse. I feel for you, Miss Girl, but no. It's no
Imagine.
for me. I just now after I
That
saw
just
that
makes me
scene,
so sad. That's
I
some
was
like
like,
Romeo and Juliet type
yeah.
beat.
And then it
Like,
reminded me of how they first introduced Wanda as like almost like this horror in Age of Ultron, one of her first scenes, it's almost shot like you were watching like The Conjuring or Insidious. And like
yeah, yeah.
when Captain America is like about to like nail Dr. Strucker, and then
It's
you see
in
Wanda come out of nowhere in like a creepy corner with her eyes
yeah,
up, and then she like quickly like hexes him,
right,
goes behind like a door. You just see
right.
her eyes, and then it closes, almost like you're like
Yeah.
watching a horror movie. And
Yeah, well also when
I
we're
was
very
like,
first introduced to Wanda too in
Oh yeah,
Winter Soldier
in Winter Soldier,
in
she
the little
looks
thing,
like
Homegirl looks straight out of The
like
Conjuring. She looks like Annabelle,
like
the
she's
doll. She
glitching.
looks like
And
Insidious
so I
typey.
was thinking, I was like, what if they're bringing back this like almost like film element, like trying to bring her character. Oh my god, my dog is barking. I'm so sorry. Trying to like bring her character almost, or like introduce her character, or add this like type of horror element to her character. If they're
Yeah,
trying to go back to that, I think that would be really cool because
I
she
think
is
that'd be cool
Scarlet
too.
Witch, and that'd
Cause
be
she,
like
right,
kind
right,
of dope. But I would be like, Marvel, the switch up was so fast and so
right.
abrupt. I did not have time to process it. And then you never see the rest of the movie, you never see a scene like that with her like that again. And I was like, okay.
Well, and I'm also interested in the evolution and the character arc of Wanda becoming the main villain. And you and I have discussed this. Like in my mind, there is no doubt in my mind that Mephisto is behind this and that he is the stork,
Yeah, because
and
even at
that
the end
he
of the
is
episode,
controlling Wanda.
when Monica was like, "It's all Wanda," I was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Is
Is
it?"
it?
I
Is it
was like,
though?
"Is it though?" Because
Right.
when the new promo came out, and in it you can hear Wanda saying, "I don't know how this all started,"
Mm-hmm.
and whether that be like editing so that Marvel could throw us
We're
off,
thrown off, but
it
well,
wasn't, or that's actually what she says in
for
the
me,
scene.
the confirmation of that was in the character Ralph and Mr. Scratchy. There is literally a Mr.
Yeah,
Scratch.
and
There's
then the stork. We haven't
literally
talked about the stork
no the
in our
stork.
last.
Yeah, the stork. There's no way in heck that that is not Mephisto at work somehow. Because when the stork does enter, the stork is there. Like the stork makes sure it is there when those babies are born. And
And it
like
comes.
Wanda's the most powerful, and she like
The
uses
other
her
thing,
magic on it,
yeah.
and it just puffs up in a cloud of red
The
dust,
other
and it
thing
doesn't
that
do
I
anything.
give Marvel credit for is that when both Mephisto and Wanda use their powers, they both emit like red. And
Yeah.
I think that's what's throwing everyone off, is because you never really know if it is Mephisto or if it's
Or
Wanda, because when
Wanda.
they both use their powers, it's both red. With Wanda, I feel like it's more like red electricity, and with Mephisto, it's more like red powder, because when the stork jumps and
Yes.
pops into different places, it's like red powder. And no matter what Wanda does, she can't get rid of
Right.
the bird. And I was like, oh my God, there's
Mhm.
no way that they're not going to introduce this man. I don't know.
And because the stork knew to stay in place when
Yeah.
Geraldine came
And
in.
it was that
There's
one
no way.
gave me
Okay, but
chills.
my point was, I think I'm really interested in the character arc of Wanda becoming a villain and becoming the main antagonist in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. I think there's a very real
Yeah.
possibility that like Doctor Strange might have to go, either Doctor Strange and her working together to create to like destroy Mephisto, or Doctor Strange is against Wanda. And really, Wanda is so powerful that if she does become a villain, they will have no choice but to eradicate her.
In every summary of what who she is in the comics, she's bad at first, and then she's good, and then she's a good person that makes bad choices.
Right.
And then towards the end of her like life, or like life in the Marvel comics, she like realizes all the mistakes she's had, and she kind of like
Right.
steps back, and she makes this really like grave decision. And in the comics, she has the power. She says no more mutants, and at least like in the comics, 90%
Right.
of mutants are like killed after she says
Right.
that one line. I don't
But
know.
we also know Marvel is picking and choosing what they
Yeah,
want from the comics.
they really did.
So,
Because in the entire comic, she's like an X-Men character. She's not, she's barely, not that
no,
she's
yeah.
barely, but like compared to how much she's used in the Avengers and how much she's used in the comics, um, it's not that much. Like she's not
Right.
with the Avengers, that she's mainly an X-Men character. I don't
I
think.
just really, I just cannot wait for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness because we know that Wanda's going to play a big role in it. I
From what my understanding of the multiverse is, it serves as both an explanation for what the multiverse is, and it'll be like Doctor Strange is explaining it. I don't know if there's any good guy or bad guy. I thought it was just him explaining what the multiverse is. And I know that at some, like during that, he has to like piece together the parts that Wanda kind of messed up in our universe with the whole, with
yeah.
everything that happened in WandaVision. Like part of his job during the multiverse of madness is he's trying to like fix everything that went wrong, while also explaining what the multiverse
How
is.
it works.
because it's obvious that Wanda has messed up some things within the multiverse because she has that power, whether she
Right.
did it intentionally or unintentionally. She does have the power to like mess with other realities. And so I believe I read that Doctor Strange is going to, at some point in that show, he's going to have to like set the timeline straight.
Yeah, I'm
Purpose
just thinking
is
in
in
the sense of
multiverse.
like longevity in the Marvel universe with
Yeah.
everything that they have lined up, they need something to fight. So this would be a perfect introduction to a villain,
Yeah.
be that Mephisto or Wanda.
Unless this phase is kind of like a setup phase, you know what I mean? Like to set things up,
Yeah,
and then in the next phase you see them, I don't know, fight Mephisto.
that could be true actually, because that's how the first class of Avengers started.
Like
Like
the
they
first
all fought their own little battles, but it eventually and like all
like
added up
set
to
up
Endgame.
the Avengers. I wanted to talk about because I rewatched the Wasp, Ant-Man and the Wasp,
Oh yeah.
and one of the things I picked up on was Howard Stark says in the Ant-Man and the Wasp, he says to Dr. Pym, he makes a reference to the past and the future. It's like, don't let your past ruin your future. He says that to Dr. Pym. And that's so weird because in the first episode of WandaVision, the Stark
The
like
commercial.
logo or the Stark slogan is here's forget your past, here's your future.
Mm-hmm.
And then they make another reference, they like, and then as the movie goes on, the bad guy in, not Ant-Man and Wasp, I'm talking about Ant-Man, the first Ant-Man. I'm sorry, I said
Right.
Ant-Man and Wasp, but the first Ant-Man. And then the bad guy in the first Ant-Man movie then says again to Hank Pym, he says, that's why you're the past and I'm the future. And I was like, I wonder if way back when
Hmm.
Marvel was like, we're gonna create WandaVision, and in WandaVision, like I wonder, or if they when they were making that episode of WandaVision and they needed a slogan
Right.
for that commercial, if they went back to Ant-Man.
They knew they were gonna create WandaVision a long time
Yeah, a long
ago.
time ago. That's
Like a
another thing.
while, like while
Like
they were
in the
setting
first
up
Avengers
Avengers a
movie,
long time ago.
like
Yes.
when they set up the first event, like the first Iron Man movie, Kevin Feige had like a timeline for how this whole thing was gonna like
Yeah.
pan out. Whether he knew the exact what like the specifics, but he knew what was gonna happen.
Kevin Feige and
Yeah.
Stan Lee are just genii, the
Yeah.
plural of geniuses. Because sorry,
R.I.P.
this
Stan.
is
Oh,
crazy.
Kevin Feige. Question: Did you was that was that
You know what I'm gonna miss? We're getting very off topic now, but Stan Lee's cameos,
I no, I
bro.
like imagine what his cameo would have been in WandaVision, like what
Yo,
episode
that
and
would
what
have
he
been.
would have been in. That would have
You
been
know, he would have been like some old man, like on the street, on
yeah,
like a
something.
bench. They're just like make a comical, like say he'll
Yeah.
just be like, "What are you?" Oh man, his cameos were the best. His last one was his cameos were the best. Was Spider Man, right? Yeah, that had to be the
Yeah, the
last one.
last one was it Spider-Man Far From Home?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
he is in
so. He
Spider-Man
was a
Far From
bus driver. Rest in peace, Stanley. You're a legend
Yeah.
among legends, really.
Yeah, I know there was a theory that there could possibly be use of the reality stone because of the manipulation of reality that Wanda has created, and
Right.
also because of the CMBR waves mimicked
Yeah.
out of the Big Bang. And we also know from the Marvel movies that it was during the Big Bang that the Infinity Stones were created.
Hmm.
I understand where that theory came from, but I don't think it's true because the stones are in their respective timelines.
Right.
I think what they're picking up is Wanda's powers, because Wanda's powers, I feel like, and because her powers come from an Infinity Stone, those CMBR waves would be similar.
I've also seen theories that Wanda's power doesn't come solely from the stone.
In the comics, she's Magneto's daughter.
Yeah, I was
She's
just about to say
Magneto's
she gets her
daughter.
power from
The way
Magneto, but
that
then
the way
she's
that
not
the
really.
MCU said no. The MCU was like,
MCU said
the
no.
Mind Stone.
In Brie Larson's character, you can definitely see a strong tie to the stones, but Wanda's power seems different. Wanda's power seems bigger in a
That's the
sense. Do you know what I'm
yeah.
talking about? Like
That's
Captain Marvel's power is very clearly tied to the stones, and you can very clearly see that when she's fighting not Ultron, excuse me, when she's
yeah.
fighting Thanos for the gauntlet. Like you can very
Yeah.
see, like she's siphoning the power off of the stones too, but so is he.
Mhm.
You can definitely see that power struggle, but Wanda's power is different.
Also, you have to remember that before she has these powers before she has some sort of power before she's experimented
Before,
on,
correct. Yes, that's
which
what
is
I was thinking.
why her powers come out as red and Quicksilver's powers come out as blue as opposed to
Right,
yellow because the Mind Stone is yellow.
right.
Um,
And she was a mutant. Well, but then she's
yeah,
not
she was.
actually a mutant. These comics were crazy because it's like,
Yeah,
oh, she's
because in the
Magneto's
comics,
daughter. She's a
like
mutant. Never
it's
mind.
like
She's not
she's a
either of those.
mutant and she's
But
Magneto's
then she's
daughter, but
not.
she's really not
But
Magneto's
she's
daughter.
not.
That's a whole other thing. I'm interested and excited to see what Marvel does because Wanda in the comics is very different than what they're doing. Not very different, but significantly different than what they're doing in
That
this
we know of
cinematic
yet.
universe that we
That
know.
we know of yet.
Because I'm rewatching X-Men right now, and I'm like watching Magneto as a character and how the X-Men universe worked
Mhm.
with this whole like war between humans and mutants, and I was like, it would make sense for Wanda to exist
Yeah.
in this world because
Yeah.
her entire life and her character has always been an outsider because of the powers that she has. Okay, so this isn't like a developed theory. I just like thought about it because I was thinking about these two lines in the show that Jimmy Woo says. The
Oh,
first line
yes.
is he says, so the universe created a sitcom with two Avengers. And I was like, the universe. I was like, maybe there's something. And then I was like, maybe he knows that there's something bigger at play than just
Right.
Wanda or just.
But
He also says,
because a reference to our reality is what cracks their reality.
you reminded me. He also says after Geraldine or Monica says, oh, you killed Ultron. He said, did she just make a reference to our
Our
reality?
reality. Mhm.
Opposed to him saying, did she just make a reference to reality? Which
Right.
made me think. I was like, is there truth to the reality
I
that
definitely think so.
Wanda has created? Like, is Wanda
Yes.
so powerful? Because now there's like a theory that she's actually a goddess and not just a witch. Is she so powerful that she could have created a reality within a reality, which would also put into Catalyst Doctor Strange and the Madness of the
Right. I
Multiverse?
think her reality is very much a real reality, and our reality is very much a real
Yeah,
reality.
like
And
what if,
having those exist at the same time is problematic,
and like
and
it
that is
made
where
me
we will see
think,
Doctor Strange.
and like made me think, what if Vision is from a different
Right.
reality?
Reality.
The
No, I
vision
was
that
thinking
she
about that.
has
No,
is from
yeah.
a different
Yep.
timeline, like from a different reality.
I was thinking about
And
that.
then I've been seeing a lot of theories of how Marvel is slipping in different comic numbers, and some of the comic numbers talk about like different universes and stuff. I
There,
think it would be very
no,
interesting.
sorry. You know what I want to bring us back to real quick? On the clock on the Strucker advertisement, the numbers are 666, which is, as we know very famously, the devil's number. Who's the devil in this universe? Mephisto.
No, I'm sorry. If they don't introduce him,
I'm gonna be
I'm gonna be
pissed.
like, why did you do that? I was
We're
like,
gonna go
why?
storm the Marvel
For what
headquarters.
reason? Did you have a store? Did you have a bunny? Did you have a reference
Yeah.
to Agnes's husband that we never? I was like, why
Um,
that?
also,
What was
so
the point?
my last thought, I'm gonna leave it at this. If you saw the illegal released clip, good for you. As did I. My co-host here, Miss Grace Rivera, did not
I
see
did
it.
not
So
see it.
I'm gonna leave it with this very concise thought that I have been working on throughout all of these episodes and just got confirmed by this. Okay, ready? Evan Peters is Mephisto.
I honestly, it wouldn't be the first time that Marvel did one of their actors very clean, because they did the
That's
same
my
thing with
that's my
Evan
last thought
Peters.
on that. And
Because
there's
they did the
reasons I
same
have to
thing.
support it, but
Evan
I'm gonna
Peters.
shut up.
They did the same thing with Chris Evans, because Chris Evans was in Fantastic Four, but Fantastic
Yeah.
Four
Mhm.
owned, is owned and was produced. I don't know if that's the correct terminology, but it's owned by Fox. It wasn't owned by Marvel, so Marvel didn't
Mhm.
create the Fantastic Four movies. But he was still very much like Marvel knew
Knew what
about
they
him.
yeah.
Obviously, knew about him because they had like some sort of play into the Fantastic Four movies. So I wouldn't be surprised if they did Evan Peters a
They've also
nice
just spoke
deal
right
and was
about
like,
how
"Hey, want to be in the MCU
how
as this
great of an
character."
actor he was, and if they find a good actor, they will write around to like keep that
Also,
actor.
with American Horror Story under his belt and the things that he did in American Horror Story, he would be a
Yeah,
really
Evan Peters would be a fantastic villain. And I have thoughts to support that, but you're going to have to come back next week and hear those after we
yeah.
see all the released footage that is not illegal and now privatized on every single YouTube outlet. I don't know how that slip up happened, but Marvel shut that stuff
Shut it
down
down
real
really
quick.
quick because my
Hmm.
sister sent it to me like that morning, and then by that evening, it was like
All
gone.
privatized. Yeah, I
I was
couldn't find a
like,
single clip.
I was like,
Yeah.
no.
So, but yeah, come back next week to hear my thoughts on that because I have a lot of supporting details, but technically the world doesn't know those details yet.
No,
So
I don't. I was like, I saw it for 10 seconds. It was like some weird fight scene. And I was like, no.
we'll let you in into the podcast magic. Grace and I have a little document that we both fill with our thoughts every time we watch an episode. And she had to just
It's actually
completely
really funny. We're gonna like release them.
Yeah, we gotta release them because they're so funny.
Because we have a section where like when we react to the shows, we
Right.
like write notes, and it'll just be like in caps. What the
Oh
heck
my
was that?
God.
There's
Yeah.
one. It's just like hexagon. I'm like,
My note from last week was literally like hexagon, period. No, but
yeah.
and Grace had to just very quickly scroll by all my notes
Yeah,
because
I
she
started
didn't
reading
want to
them. I was
see
like, what is she talking about? And then I was like, delete footage. No, no.
it.
Honestly, if Marvel did him clean like that, good for them. Good
I
for
think they
him.
totally would because Evan Peters is a fantastic actor.
Yeah. And not that Quicksilver wasn't his
Oh, Grace, you're killing me. I want to give my supporting reasons so badly because you're so close to it too, but I can't say anything.
I promise next week I will let you go all the way off.
Okay.
All the way off. Because I feel like the thing about this episode was that it gave us more answers that now in this episode of the podcast we're just talking about all the answers they gave us as the questions we had for the
Right.
last
I'll just say that they do pay a nice little homage to Quicksilver, which is why I think he is now retired as Quicksilver and he's going to be Mephisto.
Of Ultron.
Eltron. We got the voice of Eltron.
Elton John and Ultron coming to theaters near you. Imagine he's like
Elton John,
Ultron, and he's like, play me a song, Mr. Piano Man.
Play me a song, Mr. Piano Man.
But the voice of the guy who's Ultron. He's on the cast list now, and it says Ultron in parentheses voice. So I'm excited to see what they do with that.
Girl, bye. That killed me. That was so funny. Literally, just you know what? I want to leave this with this thought. Imagine the voice of Ultron in Elton John, just Rocket Man burning up his.
Ultron's a body, and then you just see him at a huge, like, no, not even like at a tiny piano.
Ultron scares me. Bye.
Elton John, yeah.
Ultron's such a good villain.
When he did the there are no strings on me, I was like, okay. I was like, weird. That movie had some weird horror aspects. Now that I'm thinking about it, like
Ultron. Oh yeah.
Yeah, like with Wanda having her little like weird.
Yeah, no, that was I was
Ultron, like shutting down to like no strings on me, and then like the lights turning on and then building his body. I was like,
yeah, the no strings on me was we never got an answer for that song. For that little lullaby thing, because he always said like no strings on me, no strings on me, so no strings. Like that's what he would always say when he was like shutting down or like doing something.
Oh, do you
we never got it.
That's the lullaby she was referring to in the third episode. Is that what
I don't know. We never got an answer for that.
I'm glad that Miss Kat Dennings is back.
Me too. I love her.
Kat Dennings. Okay, Darcy and Jimmy Woo. That chemistry, that dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
Very much here for it.
Listen, real quick, I forgot to say last episode when last episode. Sorry, y'all. We're jumping around. When Wanda has the butterfly mobile and they come to life. Okay, listen. Come on, it's Marvel.
Because,
we know the butterflies don't just actually mean butterflies.
I know you're.
And if you follow our Instagram, I posted a story of the first time Doctor Strange goes into the different realities and he's in the multiverse. He sees a butterfly pass him by, and that's what kind of grounds him and brings him back to reality. And I know that's not a coincidence. That cannot be a coincidence, especially with Doctor Strange and Wanda's involvement.
Okay. Because Marvel likes to do this thing where they drop Easter eggs for future shows in like movies that are happening or shows that are happening now. Like, okay, like when in Age of Ultron, when Stark goes, because up there is Endgame. Because the butterfly thing could just be like an homage to Doctor Strange.
Yeah, definitely could, but my crazy brain. Doctor Strange is one of my personal favorites, so I'm ready. Let's tie my favorite girl, my favorite guy
Is it
together.
that
Let's go.
Doctor Strange is your favorite or that Benedict
Okay, you know
Cumberbatch is
what?
your
I
favorite?
think this is a good
No, because
place to
same.
stop. Okay, so I
Uh,
think we're gonna stop
we're
there.
done. You could literally put the ASMR outro. Be like,
Should we?
now
Should
that
we?
we're done,
I
we're gonna
will.
treat you to some
I
ASMR.
will.
Now that we're done, we're gonna treat you to some ASMR. Now for a nice little outro, we're gonna give you some ASMR. There are no strings on me.
Listening. Come back. Come back next week.
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Brie Larson.